Welcome to Lighten Up, the art of living clutter-free, a podcast where we tackle the literal and figurative clutter standing between you and your healthiest and happiest life. I'm Melanie, your host, coach, and guide on this journey to help you design a life that you love. Whether it's clearing out your kitchen cabinets, untangling your digital files, or letting go of the mental blocks that hold you back, we're here to make space for what truly matters. Let's lighten up together, starting now.
Welcome back to another episode of Lighten Up, the art of living clutter-free, where we like to talk about all things clutter. I am with a very special person who happens to have the same initials. She's another MC. So let's get into this. Maureen, Coach Mo Cooper, is a certified nutrition coach, personal trainer, and founder of Mo Mind, Body, Soul. I mean, it's such perfection. After losing 65 pounds, that's exactly how much I lost, and keeping it off, she now helps women in midlife break free from yo-yo diets and reclaim their health with simple, realistic strategies. Coach Mo's 5-pillar method focuses on mindset, nutrition, stress, movement, and sleep, all anchored in the power of time management. Her approach is upbeat, practical, and fun because health doesn't have to be complicated or boring. Her motto, your best health is closer than you think. Well, I'm so happy we're doing this today.
Happy to be here. Like you said, we could just talk about life. There's just so much richness into helping people build a healthier way of life. And I know you've had a long journey helping people. And so that is why we connect so well. And you're a sister from another mister for sure.
100%. So one of the reasons I was excited to have you on is because I am making this shift away from weight loss and doing a real deep dive into physical and mental clutter. So I wanted to be able to talk about health and wellness through the lens of clutter, but I still wanted people around who talk about weight. And then I also love the fact that while you do talk about nutrition and exercise, you're really in the world of time management. So maybe you can share a little bit about that. What does that mean, time management?
It's funny because when I hear time management, I picture like some pencil neck geek with a pocket protector and okay, I'm going to have lunch at 12:27 because that is the precise biorhythmic time according to the chart. Yes, like time management it sounds really restrictive, but in James Clear's Atomic Habits, he talks about using your calendar, managing your time. It always gets construed as being restrictive, but it actually frees you because then you actually know what you're doing with your time. And what I love about time doesn't care about where you're from, what you look like, how tall you are, what gender you are. It doesn't care about any of that because we all have 24 hours in the day and we all get to spend it like money. And there's so much of it wasted. Now, I don't know about you. I do not like waste money. I do not like to waste money. I don't mind spending money. I like investing money, but I do not like to waste money. And the same goes for time. And when you think of time, that's even more valuable than money because time is, we have a finite amount. It's going to run out. When I start coaching women, the first thing we do is look at their calendar, which sends some women running for the hills because they don't want to actually know. Oh, yeah, I do spend 3 hours in the morning scrolling TikTok or whatever the case may be. And there's no shame. There's no shame because we don't know what we don't know. And so the first step is empowering you through your calendar. That's why I say your best health is hiding in your calendar, because when we start to understand how we're spending time every day, how we're investing time, that is when the aha moments happen, the revelations, and it's just shift. It's like one of those sliding puzzles. You start shifting things around and you realize like, oh, wait, I got this big open space in the middle. There is time to do X, Y, Z to pour into myself and love myself and honor my health and all that good stuff. So that's what I love. So basically that's what the time management aspects is. It's just really looking at how you're spending your energy and then making tiny shifts to pour into you and include your health pillars that I talk about into that framework. And so, like you mentioned, like it's mindset, it's nutrition, stress management, how much we move, and sleep and recovery.
But I love it because it's so aligned with what I do and talk about now. And one is the fact that your calendar can be cluttered. There's like too much in the calendar. And maybe it's because you're saying yes to things that you really shouldn't or don't want to, but feel like you have to. There's a whole lot of should in there. And the other thing you mentioned, doom scrolling, and it's like social media. I love it. I love to scroll through Facebook and Instagram and all the things, but I also know that I can't use that as a way to feel less than. So I had this woman on who's a hypnotherapist, and she also kind of deals with women who are in the middle. And we were talking about how when you go on social media and you see people making things from scratch or the perfect wedding, the perfect date, the perfect vacation, whatever, it can really be a whole lot of clutter. So you touched on two pieces of clutter that I talk about an awful lot around here. But I think one of my takeaways makes me think about I do this little spiel about time. Everybody says I can't find the time, right? But if you can't find the time, it implies that it is lost. And if it's lost, you can't find it because you don't have the time to go find the time that you didn't have in the first place. And I love taking people through it because usually they're like, oh, that's a lot. But I think what that means is it's elusive as opposed to it's something I create. It's something I make. It's something I carve out. And that's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes. That's what I talk about because a lot of women beat themselves up over that lost time. They spent so much time wasting time doing this or eating the cookies or eating the chips. And I say, we're right here, right now. This is where we are in the present moment. That is gone. That time it's not lost. It's just gone. It's not with us anymore, but we're here now. And because so much time gets wasted, I bring them into the present time and then focus on what we do now, the future happens now. So what we do now is going to impact our future. And we're gonna fall. We're gonna waste time. We're gonna get sucked into a vortex. We'll get, I call my sister for a quick call. It's never less than 2 hours. But you know what? I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm like, okay, here we go, because I love my time with my sister. So, but it's just so yeah, we don't, well, and it's one of those mindsets, the lost time. And girl, we could have a whole other episode on perfection. Yeah, they're making, it was the old Martha Stewart. She would make everything look so perfect. And now you've got a million influencers like that out there doing it. Yeah, you don't see the team setting everything up, pre-chopping the vegetables, getting everything, all the fine cookware. No, this is why, because I love to talk about my brand is like show up as you are, perfectly imperfect. And so I love that because during that family picture where everyone's smiling and everyone looks amazing, 30 seconds before that phone screaming at their kid.
I always say that perfection is unmade decisions, or perfectionism. Like if I'm aiming for perfect, it's going to paralyze me from getting anything done because I think I can't possibly live up to, that standard. I realized that we didn't, when we got started, really hear from you how you got to where you are right now. Like it says I lost 65 pounds, but tell us more about that journey.
It really comes back to, there was a story. The summer before I started working out, I joined some stroller fit. So with your babies and you go, and basically we worked out 2 or 3 times a week, but it was just an excuse to go for lunch after and be with other grown-up humans. But I remember I said, I'm going to start working out. And I had these exercise shorts, like kind of like bike shorts, and I was trying to squeeze into them. I just remember looking at my thighs, looking like a stuffed sausage. Like this could be a documentary on BBC. And I burst into tears. I'm like, I'm never going to fit in these again. And it was this out of body experience, in body experience. I was like, okay, cool your jets. You can make a difference. So fast forward 6 months. Christmas, my ex then husband gave me we got the kids a Wii, and he gave me EA Games personal trainer. And he handed to me like this. It's only because you said you want to get into shape. I was like, what is this? And so,
Is this why you're
but
not married anymore,
yeah,
or
no. No, that was the tip of the iceberg. Actually, that was a good thing for him because he did listen sometimes in important times, so that was good. But so I started doing this video and I thought, but it was hard to do when the kids were around, and so I realized the only time nobody wanted a piece of mommy was 5 o'clock in the morning. So I started getting up at 5 o'clock to work out so that I could get it done. It was like 35, 40 minutes. It wasn't a long time, but I felt good. I was like, I was getting more energy. I felt had more structure in my day. Stay at home mom, 3 kids, 3 different decades. It was, having that stability felt so good. But then I
sure?
realized I kind of like getting up early and having this me time. So even when I wasn't working out, I got up early and I'd have my breakfast, I'd have my coffee. I did a devotional that year. I would journal. All those influencers talk about all those things you need to do. Well, I mean, I got up an hour and a half earlier before everyone else so I could have that time for myself. And as I started to really kind of carve out that space, that time for me, I didn't have a clue what I was building in my life. And because it created calm, it created confidence, it created clarity, the space where I could get in touch with myself again. I wasn't mom, I wasn't, sister, daughter, whatever, I was just me. And it just evolved into this really kind of being mindful of my time. And so as I started doing that, I had more time all of a sudden to focus on my exercise, to focus on what I was eating, to focus on getting better sleep and more quality sleep. And that stress management just kind of came naturally because I was creating this calmness in my life just by taking the time. And so that's kind of how all that came to be. And I remember that, that last 15 pounds that wouldn't budge, then I ramped it up a little bit. I started tracking my food, making sure I was getting the correct calories. And that's what kind of got me over to that last 15. I switched up my exercises and started just being really mindful. But then once you kind of know how your body goes, once you create those practices in your life, I don't track anymore. I haven't tracked in years and years. Although I will bring it out during the holidays because I can tend to go off the rails.
So you
Like,
you touched on a couple really important things. One, I just wanted to say that I love your story because it's similar to mine and then very different. And it speaks to, nothing is one size fits all. You have to find what fits for you. And
yes.
for me, I started with the tracking and then I hit that last 15. It was like, oh, I guess you're going to have to start moving now. I had a very physical job. I was on my feet all day long. So I had like in my head, one thought like I'm already doing it. But the other thought was after having been a competitive gymnast for so many years, training 4 or 5 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week, I saw exercise as something where you were supposed to beat your body up intensely for long periods of time in ways that isn't realistic for anybody who is an adult with children and a full-time job and, all the things. And boy, I started working out. That last 6 pounds melted off of me. And I don't mean that like everyone should say, oh, I'll lose 6 pounds if I start working out. But I had already put into action the right nutrition, the right amount of water. That was the thing that was missing. And for you, it was the flip. Okay. You also talked about the holidays. And this episode is dropping in November. It is dropping just before Thanksgiving. And some people may say, yay! And some people may be like, wait a minute, this is when you want to talk about exercise and nutrition. It is exactly when I want to talk about exercise and nutrition. So I know we didn't talk specifically about how you work with your clients on a day-to-day basis. So
Mhm.
give me briefly what working with you looks like, and then let's make sure that, and how does that change or what does that look like during the holiday season?
Well, it's interesting to me because I had a client, she's just signed up a few weeks ago. She has been on all the diets, and I'm sure many people out there can relate to this. She has done the shots, the diets, the programs, and she's lost the weight and then gained it back, which is not uncommon and the reason that is, besides the fact that the diet industry wants you to continue to suckle at the teat of the diet industry for the rest of your life, because how are they going to make money? And that's what I like about me is like, no, I want you to come to me. I'll give you the tools. You're going to live a free life, and I'm gonna watch you fly away and be free for the rest of your life. It's amazing. And check back once a year. I mean, let's see how you're doing. But so I've learned that the simpler I keep it, the more possible it is. So I had this lady just start with me, and she said at our one-on-one meeting the other day, she goes, I don't know. This is the first time that I've ever felt like it's actually going to work. She goes, you don't tell me to restrict anything. You don't tell me don't eat this and make sure you eat that. I mean, to a certain degree. Obviously, I'm having her increase her protein. That's where we're starting. Real easy. And she wanted a workout, so I built in a workout for her. So she's working out twice a week to start. Real simple movements, things that she can do, things that she's not going to hurt herself. So, she's an extremely busy person. She's very active in her community. And so we looked at her calendar. It's just so we were looking at when she can. So she's been getting up a little earlier, going to bed a little earlier. She's, talking about her husband. Yeah, I talked to my husband. He understands. He can watch the last 30 minutes of news or whatever on his own. So she's lucky that she has that support system. But it's really implementing the simplest low-hanging fruit because people crash out when they try to do everything at once. I do not recommend that at all. It's a recipe for disaster, pun intended. But when you start with the low-hanging fruit, you start to build confidence. Like, okay, I can drink 8 ounces of water before my coffee in the morning. What else can I do? And you just start building these habits. And it's kind of like driving a car. When you first start driving a car, you don't, you're doing your shoulder check and your mirror check, and you're doing all the conscious things. But by the time you get to be our age, you don't think you do the shoulder check because you're not in a crash every other week, but you don't think of it. And that's what building habits and incorporating into your existing life, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a high-powered lawyer or anything in between, it all applies the same. It's just looking at your calendar, seeing where you can fit these things in and how to make that happen. Some, stay-at-home moms may have to prep their meals. You know, um, high high class lawyers can have someone make it for them, but it's doable. So it's looking at where you are. And during the holidays, believe it or not, it's not much different. You're going to still implement the same ideas about food, like having a good relationship with food. That's really what we're building. Every success in life is about relationships. Relationship with yourself, relationship with your family, your friends, your community. That's how, that way just, your clients, that's your success. And so when you start to nurture a relationship with your body, with yourself, and with food, then when you go to the Christmas party, you're like, I'm gonna have a little snack before I go, so I don't like go face down in the buffet table, which may or may not have happened to me in my life. So, but so you have like a handful of nuts or a meat stick or something before you go to the party, so you're not ravenous when you get there. Little things like that, but you want to do that any time of year. Trying to get up and moving, cleaning the house for the company to come. That's a workout. Finding those times, when you're wrapping gifts or, there's so many things that we do during the holidays that we want to squeeze in. And that's the other thing. Do you really want to do it? Like, do you really want to go to the live nativity or the, whatever is going on? Is it going to bring you joy? And so that's, again, it's always the theme. Does this bring me joy? Food, does it bring me joy? My husband, does it bring me joy?
But you make me think about how we can either look at this like a diet, or we can look at this as, I'm going to say way of life, but even that sounds so cliche now. But at the end of the day, so it's no secret here, I lost my weight with Weight Watchers. I worked for them for just shy of 20 years. So a firm believer in the fact that it works. But I joined on November 10th, 2000. I am coming up on my 25th anniversary of changing my life. I joined in November, and I will never forget. I came into the meeting room. Is there anybody new in the room today? Yeah, I'm new. And people literally asked me, wow, now? Why didn't you wait until after the holidays? And I was like, first of all, I didn't know I was supposed to wait until after the holidays. Like, the implication is I did it in the wrong order, but I did it like when the window opened. In that time where you're thinking about it, you're ready to take action, take the action when you can. And it was the year that we had the biggest Thanksgiving celebration. We went to Florida. It was like my grandparents and the whole family were celebrating my grandfather's 80th birthday and Thanksgiving and family reunion, and I can't even tell you how many different turkeys there were. I still ate meat then, so I was like, "I'll have one of each." But had I not made the decision to change before I went on vacation, it would have been so bad. I never would have joined. I can't imagine creating a calendar based on when it's appropriate to start and when it's not appropriate to start. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And having that preemptive strike, because then, say you do gain a little weight over the holidays. How much would you have gained had you not started to make small shifts in your day life? Like, and I love that you started with Weight Watchers because that's where I started too. That's what taught me to even have a mindset about nutrition. Holidays, though, remember, you don't have to. I think people equate, you know, starting something new before the holidays. It's first of all, it's going to be more stuff you have to worry about. You're going to have to restrict what you're doing. You're not going to be able to have fun, and you're not going to have the signature holiday cocktails and the turkey and gravy sandwiches and all those things. And that's not true at all. You just become more mindful and without the guilt. So when you have the trifle, when you have the whipped shortbread cookies and all those special things around the holidays, you're enjoying it maybe for the first time and you're like, "Oh my god, this is really good." Or maybe it's, "Wow, why do I eat this every year? It does not I don't really like it. Is I'm just eating it out of habit, that corn casserole or green bean whatever, and it's just not fueling my soul." And so you get to learn how to really enjoy the season and while honoring your body, honoring your mind, your body and your soul, hence the name of my company. So that you can have an amazing holiday and still enjoy all the fun things and not worry about having to lose another 10 pounds once the new year rolls around. So for me, it's a no-brainer.
I love that. I love that. I mean, we could come up with more excuses for not eating healthy then too, because, once we get through Christmas and Hanukkah and New Year's and then Valentine's Day and weddings and anniversaries and sweet 16s and bar mitzvahs and birthdays and retirement parties and, oh, let's go to the movies on Saturday afternoon. All of a sudden, 52 weeks have gone by, and every single week there's been something that makes us think we should be off versus
Yes.
on, as
Yes.
opposed to, what if I made this fit my life every day of the year
Yeah.
without being restrictive so that I don't go crazy at the special things?
No. So we're on a mission. Like I always think of, after my kids used to have these massive birthday parties when they were little, and we had confetti cannons at one of them in my house. And we didn't clean it up in one sweep. Like it took sweeps, shop vac, a lot. And we were still finding it years later, the fluttered confetti. But that's the thing. It's the same with getting healthy. You're going to sweep and you're going to make a little progress. You're going to sweep again, you make a little more progress. And the next thing you know, you got a clear path and you're seeing your future. You're seeing how this is possible. I can actually live this way. And you don't know what you don't know, as I say. And so the more you start to learn about how your body is, how you feel when you start eating healthier, when you start moving more, when you start getting rid of the clutter from your life, and it starts in your calendar. And so so that's why really what we're talking about, the unnecessary things. Like, why do you have them in there in the first place? They don't serve any good. No, they're just dust collectors. They're not doing anything. So we want to
Right.
create a life where we feel free, we feel calm. I mean, just even coming home from like Dallas, like unpacking my suitcase, you just feel so good. It's a simple thing. Takes me 5 minutes. But it's such a simple thing, and it's like a decluttering. It's like a little mini decluttering. You put things away, you throw the laundry in the hamper, and you just feel, and all these little things with decluttering, your space, your time is so valuable to your health. You just feel amazing. And I love helping people come to that as much as humanly possible.
I love that you're talking about unpacking the bag when you get back from a trip, because like, walk in the house, say hello to the cats, make sure they have food and water, and then unpack the bags. I don't understand the waiting. And I know there are a lot of people out there, "Oh, when I get home, I'm so tired." But you know what? If I don't do it when I get home, when I wake up the next morning, I'm going to be looking at a pile of laundry. And I don't mean that we're going to do the laundry right away. For those who are
Yeah,
listening, I live in an apartment in New York. We don't have laundry on site. But
right.
just think having the bags out and the gifts here, although I've stopped doing lots of gifts while I've been on this declutter journey, it speaks to getting up in the morning and making the bed and doing whatever it is that you do, whether it's journaling or exercising or meditation or whatever it is. All of that stuff is easier if you haven't left mess from the night before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you wake up and you just feel clear. When people leave things out, like my sister, this made me mental. She had a basket of random socks. I can't. I can't. I go over to visit and I would sit there and we'd chat and I would pair socks because the thought of digging through that basket every morning to find all the kids. She said, no, I give up. 3 kids. And I'm like, no, I'll watch my stories and pair socks and fold the things and Marie Kondo the crap out of my drawers. I look like a serial killer if you look at my drawers, but it makes me so happy because it's just so organized and I can see everything. And these are the small things. Like, you don't have to be super type A to do these things, but it's just because when you don't, it pulls energy. Clutter distracts you. It pulls you from what's really important. And maybe your health is on point. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your relationship with your family. Maybe it's your relationship with your coworkers. What is that clutter pulling from? I believe life is a miracle. I believe you're a miracle. I'm a miracle. We are all miracles that we're here. What is it, like 478 trillion and one that we are us,
Right.
And I mean, that's amazing. And when you have like even just eyes to see and you can move. I have a friend of mine. She is technically a quadriplegic. She has some use of her hand. She had a swimming accident when she was about 18 or 19.
Oof.
Her whole thing is living a victorious life. This woman does more than I have ever dreamed of, like motorcycle trips. She's like snowboarding. Like she does all this stuff. She's like, but it's all how we look at things. And she just doesn't take anything for granted. And I think that's what a lot of us do. We get sucked into the drifting down the river of life. And it's so easy to do that. And when you have clutter, it just keeps you stuck. It keeps you stuck in that bobbing down the river of life. And I have a poem that my sister, it was written in her autograph book. Remember those? Love many, so be free with love. Trust few, so be discerning. Always paddle your own canoe. And I always love that. I thought that was so great. It's love many, trust few, always paddle your own canoe.
So there's a poem that my husband's a poet and he writes beautiful things that I don't understand. And then he also writes some that are more story-like and I can really keep up with. And I tell people all the time, there is only one poem that I can recite by heart. And it's from a poster that one of my mom's friends took me to buy a Mother's Day gift, for my mom. And I picked it out. We were in a market downtown in New York City, and it's a poster of a field of daisies. And it says, daisies bloom where they find room. And this is true of people too. It was in the kitchen. So I also I had memorized it backwards at one point. I could never do that now. But it's simple little things like that stay with us. And the reminder for me of that one is that like there's birth everywhere and rebirth, and there's changing your path or redirecting your path at any time. It's not you only get the one chance. And I think that's why coaches like us are so valuable in the world, because we're able to help people meet them where they're at. And once they find where they want to go, help direct the path. Because what I heard from you earlier was about like focusing on the future. Like that's what's different from coaching and therapy. Therapy, we just drum it back up and back up. My mom said this, my
Yes.
dad did that, my teacher, yada, yada. Whereas with coaching, it's, so what's the goal? Great. Now I'm going to help you get there because we're going to have a plan. Therapy is amazing. I would not be where I am today if it hadn't been for therapy. But I
Yes.
do want to make sure that people see how they're great together.
Yeah.
I would be, yeah. So tell me before we finish up, this is my little show about clutter. And so I like to talk about clutter with the
Yeah.
experts. And every once in a while, I come across someone like you who's like, no, I hate clutter. So maybe it's physical, maybe it's mental, maybe it's the calendar, maybe it's social media, maybe it's the 24-hour news cycle, maybe it's people in your life, maybe it's work. Where do you see clutter come up for you?
My office. Actually, I've streamlined it a lot, but I'm recently looking at things like I don't need old client folders out because I'm an out of sight, out of mind person. I have things about my program that I ran 5 years ago, and I'm looking in these old files. And I'm like, oh, I totally forgot I created this. So I like to keep things in front of my eyes, but I have to understand like paper. I love paper. I'm a child of the 70s. I still remember smelling the coffee sheets, the
The
purple.
mimeograph machine or
Yeah,
something?
math. Oh my gosh, I just love that. And so I love paper. I love writing. I it's therapeutic, so I love paper, but my paper can get a little out of control. So actually I just arrived yesterday. So all my files, I have everything. I have 7 areas of my business. 6. One of them is personal stuff. So I have folders for everything. And I have folders in my, because you get the digital clutter too, right? It's the same as paper. So I've started to put things into folders. And so I just got these file folder things so I can organize them because right now they're just sitting in piles, but I want to be able to see it. So clutter's not always a bad. We have a lot of things around. It's not always. I don't think it's always a bad thing as long as it serves a purpose and has a function. So now my books might be another problem. So I might need to stop that program for that.
Well, I will direct everybody to go back to episode 14. The first week of April, I did an episode with my husband. He's the only man that's been on the show.
Nice.
And the only
Love it.
relative that's been on the show. But he's a book collector. I mentioned it before. He's a poet. He's a book collector. He always has been. He was an English major at college. He loves to write. He loves to read. And I say this on almost every episode. I am not a minimalist. I don't want to be one. I love things. I love colors. I love patterns. I love textures. I love mixing all of the things. We have lots of books. We have lots of photographs.
Yes.
And so you keep the things that have good energy.
Yes.
You enjoy them, you appreciate whether it's something you utilize or something like the painting on that wall over there. I love it. I love to every once in a while stop during the day and look at it. Does it serve a purpose? Yes, it does. I find it calming and soothing, etc. But if something doesn't have good energy, then you have to let it go. And it doesn't matter whether it's a book, paper, a piece of china, clothing. I think for so often for women, when there's a clutter of clothing, it's because there's multiple sizes. But what
Yes.
if I gain it back? Or I want to keep it because I'll lose the weight. And that can mean that there's so much clutter to make a decision. And if
Yeah.
you lost the weight, you got to get rid of that stuff. No,
Yes.
no option to gain it back. No.
Burn the boats. As
Yes.
the saying
Yes.
goes. You know, it was
Yes.
like
Yes.
Vikings used to go to a new land and they would burn the boats so they had no
Right.
way back.
I love that. I think go ahead and save one thing. Like save that thing for like the before and after picture, but don't keep a wardrobe of
No.
big clothing. So do you have a success story that you like to share?
I do. Karen's ears are gonna be flaming because I was on an interview yesterday and singing her praises because she came to me a couple of years ago and she was I ran a course. That's how everything started with my business. And I myself was so like, I guess I could do this. I don't know. Talk about mental clutter, right? Things that stand in our way. And so I ran this course and she and her husband joined. And they were really keen. And I was like, oh, thank you for joining and giving me money. So it was really the beta rollout, And I knew I could do it. I kind of done it before, but they really were my test dummies. There's no good term for that. Guinea pigs, test dummies. Anyway, so they did really well. She did really well in the course. Then I started from that course, the people that joined, I said, would you be interested in being part of my beta group for group coaching? And I ran it like pro bono for 2 months, trying to figure out the rhythm, what would work, what doesn't work, and everything. And they were super keen. They're like, free coaching for 2 months, we're in. And so she really got into it. Now she was super shy. Since I met her, she has lost over 50 pounds. She has gone from full diabetic. I mean, like family history, diabetes, all down the line. She went from diabetic to pre-diabetic to full remission. She is no longer diabetic. And I can never say that without getting emotional. And then she got hit with skin cancer. But that is also successful because she was already building her health. She recovered so fantastically. She kept her mindset clear. She had those warbling moments, but I was like, "Girl, you have done so much, and this is not the end of your story. This is just a chapter." And now this little stay-at-home mom is now not only helping her husband with his events, he has an event company where they do digital online events. Very good, by the way, very well run. So she went to work for him, but then they were doing one for a company and they asked her to be on their team. And I'm like, "Who are you, man?" Like her confidence is through the roof. And she feels great. Now she's kind of gone through all the cancer thing and she is on her way back. She's getting back to the gym. She's working more now, but she's really focusing on getting her nutrition in through the day. And yeah, she is absolutely my rock star. And I've had many other clients that have done incredibly well. And, a lot of mental weight is lost in this journey. A lot of emotional weight is lost. A lot of uncovering of why they gained the weight in the first place. And I feel honored and humbled to be part of their journey truly because it can go real deep. And I always take that so seriously because I know how hard it is to be vulnerable. I know how hard it is to open yourself up to a veritable stranger. So I never take that for granted. I always want people to know you're in a safe space. I always say you're in a place, no shame, no blame, just a place to reframe. That has been my mantra since the beginning. And so yeah, so Karen is one of many, and that's the new lady that just joined. She heard Karen's story and that's exactly what she wants. So now we're starting her journey. And she
I love
feels
that.
super hopeful and possible. And I know way more than I did 2 years ago.
I love that because I think, it's a statement that's overused. I love to help people. I know that I love to help people, but I love to see people change and shift. I like to see when the light bulb goes off and they go, "Yes, that."
To witness the transformation.
It's so special. And I don't care what kind of transition you're helping someone with. I feel very strongly it's an honor to participate in that journey
Absolutely.
because most of these journeys are ones that started with embarrassment and shame and guilt and shame and guilt and shame and shame and guilt and, back and forth. And it's about finding someone you can work with that isn't going to do those things or
No.
even make you feel, that way. That's very special.
And kudos to people who have come to me who have had coaches that shamed and guilted and still came to put that trust in me. Took that chance that I had something different. I have a client who's struggling right now with some personal things. And I said, "Girl, we're supposed to meet every 2 weeks." I said, "Let's do a quick 15-minute check-in. I want to see how you're doing because I never want my clients to be feel like a number. I never want, and I have felt like a number. I have felt like a dollar bill, like an exchange. And I never want that to be, you have to have boundaries for sure, but that's in any good relationship, right? You need to have
Right.
boundaries. But
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that she feels supported and seen during this time. Also very cliche. I want to be seen. But is that it's like because so many people are ignored, not just by people around them, but by themselves. So
Right.
having that, coming to that realization, understanding you are worthy of love, you are worthy of care, you are a precious loved one. And when we start treating yourself like that, that's when those lights start to go on.
It's the action that's taken. Like, I can tell you I'm worth all those things, but I have to figure out how to move forward.
Yes. And people will push back and say, "Mo, I love myself," because I have my stickers that say I freaking love me. And people say, "Of course I love myself." I'm like, "Do you? Because how you treat yourself." And sometimes I can be a little direct. But you need that, because I'm not here to enable anybody. I'm not here to I will hug you, but I also say, "Girl, you got more. There's more you can do more. I know you can. I've seen you do hard things. You can do this." And that is, so it's a love push, and people, I needed it and people need it. And but you have compassion. And at the same time, I'm here to empower you, not enable you. And it can be a very fine line between the two. Yeah.
That's so helpful to hear. I know a lot of people are going to enjoy hearing that. So before we finish up, what's like one takeaway to make sure, a listener does not hang up on this until they hear
Your best health is closer than you think. You think that it's in a far off land and it's unattainable, but your best health, and I say your best health because it's different for everyone. Everyone has different challenges. It might be, like I said, physical weight. Some people may need to lose 100 pounds. Some people need to lose 30. One is no more than the other because it all comes down to the process. One may take longer than the other, but keeping it off, that maintenance of health is a daily process, and it's showing up for yourself. And this is my sticker that says
freaking love
"I
me.
freaking love me," and I hand these out like candy, ironically, because I want everyone to. I say, put this on your water bottle. This is my water bottle, and somewhere you can see it. Put it on. Some people put it on their mirror. Someone put it on their dashboard. So they say to themselves when they're beating themselves up, when they're adulating, when they're allowing people to treat them like garbage, and themselves being one of them. I want you to look at that and you say, I freaking love me. And remember why you are a most precious loved one. Because when we start, because like you said, you can say stuff all day long, but what are you doing? How are you showing up for you? I actually wrote a poem years ago called The Love of My Life. And it is, I can't read it without crying because it's about my own transformation and how I came to love myself. And I realized this by every night putting out I was eating oatmeal then, my cereal, the bowl, cleaning the kitchen, setting up the coffee, doing all the things for me. So when I came out in the morning, it was like all ready for me. And it was just a simple act of love. And it just hit me like a freight train one day, like, I am so worth this. I am so worth this care and love. And so my friend gave me a little sign years ago that said, I freaking love you, which I love her. Every time I think of that, I think of her. And I was looking at that little plaque one day and I was like, I freaking love me. I freaking love me. And it shows. So I want everyone to freaking love themselves. Because imagine where everybody pours into themselves, has honor and respect for themselves, and treats themselves like a most precious loved one, because that spills out. It's the old, can't pour from an empty cup. When you pour into yourself, you come to this calm place, this decluttered place, this freeing place where you can be open, you can be curious, you can ask questions and not feel threatened, and you can feel settled in your soul. And it's like no other feeling in the world, and I didn't live that way for almost 50 years. So I just now and when you rediscover it, you want everyone to have a piece. It's like
Yes, yes. Share. Please share that. Please share that.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Mo, how can people find you?
You can I'm actually rebuilding my website right now, but if you want to have a 20-minute call, sometimes 20 minutes is all it takes just to get you in the right direction. Just a small tweak. My first company was called Bend the Twig, Form the Tree. So it's like small actions having big results. And so timewithcoachmo.com is a great way to connect with me, to just set a 20-minute call. That's it. 20 minutes. I ask like 4 questions just to see where you are, see how I can help you. I always say I'm like the Santa Claus in Miracle on 34th Street. If I don't have what you need, then I'm going to help you find someone you will, because my ultimate goal is for everyone to be healthier in mind, body, and soul. And so my website is momindbodysoul.com. That should be it's there right now, but I'm having trouble updating it, so it still has the summer special on there, but all the rest of the stuff is accurate. So you can contact me there too.
All of this is going to be in the show notes so people know how to find you. Mo, thank you so much for being here today. This has been fantastic. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. There's a glass of wine involved. It would have been perfect.
You can come to New York. You can have a glass of wine. I will have a beer.
I'm from Canada, man. I'm all about the beer.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Lighten Up, the Art of Living Clutter-Free. I hope you found a spark of inspiration to help declutter not just your space, but your mind and life as well. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little lightness in their life. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about progress. Small steps lead to big changes, and I'm here to help you every step of the way. For more tips, resources, and ways to connect, check out my website, follow me on social media, and don't forget to check out the Design Your Healthy Life Strategy program to take your transformation even further. Until next time, keep letting go of what no longer serves you and making room for what truly lights you up.